And we hear that phrase, Son of God, and we think we know what it means. We think, Son of God, it must mean Jesus is divine. Son of Mary, but his Father is God. We think about the Incarnation, we think about Christmas, we think about Bethlehem, and all those kinds of things. But the title, Son of God, is more than simply a statement that Jesus is God in the flesh. And to understand that, again, we've got to go to the backstory. Again and again and again, we've got to go backwards. And look at how that language has shown up before. If we go backwards, back 1,000 years or so, 2 Samuel 7:14, King David is told, you're going to have a son. He's the one who's going to build the temple. You're not going to build it, he's going to build it. And he will be, we are told in 2 Samuel 7:14, God says to David, I will be a father to him, and he will be a son to me. Now, nobody was going around thinking that Solomon was divine or the incarnation of Yahweh, Israel's God. That language, Son of God, in that instance, was a way of talking about the King, divine title. And it comes to greater fulfillment in the presence of Jesus. So, Son of God is associated in 2 Samuel with the King. It's a kingly title. It comes up again even further back. In Exodus chapter 4, verse 22, God sends Moses to Pharaoh and says, go tell Pharaoh that Israel is my firstborn son. And so that language, that idea of being a son of God isn't just a person, it's the whole nation. And their vocation, their calling, their identity as a people depends on this notion of that they are, as a kingdom, or as a people, are the son of God. Israel. I love Israel like a son. Moses, you go tell Pharaoh, let my son go so he can come and worship me. And then the son language comes up again, even further back. If we go all the way back to Genesis chapter 5, we are told in verse 2, or verse 1, this is the list of descendants of Adam. When God created humankind, He made them in the likeness of God. Male and female He created them, and He blessed them and named them humankind, Adam, when they were created. When Adam lived 130 years, he became the father of a son in his likeness, and according to his Adam, and he named him Seth. So notice that image and likeness is about that's about your children. Adam has a son in his image, in his likeness, and his name is Seth. Well, if Adam's son is in his image and likeness, and Adam is in the image and likeness of God, what does that mean about Adam? He's the first son of God. And we've already run into this idea that being a son of God involves kingship. And that shouldn't surprise us, because in Genesis 1, Adam is given dominion over everything. All the beasts and the birds. He gets to name them. They belong to him. Until he yields that when he rebels against God. But all through the Old Testament, this idea of the Son of God is given to people. Whether it's Adam, who's the king over creation, whether it's Israel, who's called to be a kingdom of priests, whether it's Solomon, who is the king of Israel. And now, when Jesus gets that title, Mark wants us to understand that Jesus succeeds where all of the others had failed. Jesus is going to go and be tempted in the wilderness. We'll talk about that in a minute. And where Adam was tempted by Satan and fell, Jesus will be tempted and persevere. Where Israel went into the wilderness for 40 years because they sinned against God and had to wander before they could go into the promised land, Jesus would go into the wilderness for 40 days and be faithful Son of God, fulfilling the vocation of the nation. And like Solomon, Jesus will receive the throne. Mark wants us to understand that Jesus is, yes, fully God, but he is also the king, the human king who God has designated, anointed to reign over all things.